May 14th, 2026. This is the S&P 500 E-Futures Mini on 2000 tick chart using NinjaTrader 8. This is what the chart looked like today. There was no real economic data except for at 5:30 Pacific Standard was the core retail sales according to Forex Factory, and it didn't really do that much to the market. Volume was a little bit better. Price action was actually pretty smooth and for the most part clean, but it didn't really result in a lot of setups, in my opinion, or a lot of setups that I could identify. But I did find, I think, 3 setups, and I did take one of them. And so I'm going to setups right now. The pre-market looks like it's just chopping sideways, but slightly upwards. This red up channel doesn't exist yet. I did have a trend line starting from here, and it was kind of chopping up aggressively because I try to make this swing. So, I was trying to make this swing work with this initial move on the open. I had something like this, and it kind of fit well, kind of didn't fit well. Later evolved into this red up channel, but this red up channel, I never really fully trusted it, so it just kind of stayed transparent. So the pre-market's selling off, break, tested low, and it starts reversing up. Looks like it's 2 legs, hits the sideways consolidation, push down, and it starts moving up. So I thought maybe this is 1 leg, and then this is a potential second leg. Then it starts moving sideways. I mean, there are technical second entry counts, but they don't really result in any nice, I guess, in my opinion, high probability setups. Hits the high of day, sells off. It looks like it's almost like a first entry long, second entry long, but technical count's just the first entry. And even then, the 2 moves down look very tight. It's a little hard to see, hard to really predict that it's going to move a second leg up. Not a second leg up, but it did move 2 legs down and reversing back up. So it breaks out of this potential range, moves down on this kind of not best fitting purple down channel, break, tested low, kind of reverses back up, and it does look like it's 2 legs down. Unfortunately, where it bounces here, there's no setup, and there's no, in my opinion at the time, no rhyme or reason for why it would bounce, because there's only really maybe a 2-touch confirmation. So I'm gonna go ahead and delete this. It starts pushing up, break, test the high, creates a localized high. I drew the pre-market high right here, and then the pre-market low here. And I was thinking in real time, this is maybe in a range. It is biased going upwards, but I was thinking maybe it's going to move back down to the low side. So it actually sets up for what I thought was a possible trade. So break this green up channel, test the high. Looks like, in my opinion, it might move back down. This red trend line doesn't exist yet. So I'm thinking it's moving down. You have a localized high. It's a first entry long pullback. I like this second entry long possible triple test. It's strong engulfing bar. This guy engulfs the 4 previous bars. So it was chopping around. Then it actually moves below this guy. Engulfs it completely and closes the high. Now there is enough room for a 6-tick scalp, but I think for something like this, I feel better just taking a 1-point scalp to just get in and get out, but I didn't take it. It would have worked. It would have worked for even 2-3-point scalp, but you don't know it at the time. Which is up and out. At this point, I'm not so sure this range is valid. I did play around and I found this trend line start from yesterday's market, touching. So it has like 3 points, a 3-touch point confirmation. The high side I had it a little bit slow, a little bit lower. I had this as an overshoot because initially I thought maybe it was this high, but I didn't like how it didn't have any swing confirmations. So I dragged it a little bit lower and allowed for this overshoot. And then there's the small overshoots here, but I thought, okay, maybe prices are moving up this shallow up channel. It's a localized high, creates a first entry long pullback, second entry long. Unfortunately, it's a doji bar and it closes right below the EMA. And it starts moving upwards. So it looks like it's more like a visual first entry, second entry. And I established maybe there's this yellow up channel moving up. It confirms the low side pretty well. High side only has 1-touch confirmation. But in a situation like this, I'm looking for reasons to go high. And I'd only worry about the high side if I was in a trade and I was worrying about if it was going to find potential resistance. But since it confirms really well on the low side, I'm looking for reasons to go long. The prices continue moving up. At this point, it kind of violates this transparent red channel, which I didn't really have that much belief that it was a valid channel, but just notice that, okay, it helps confirm that this red up channel isn't something I need to be too concerned about. Didn't mean to do that. Scroll too quickly. And you can already tell bias is to the upside. So it hits this high side. It kind of consolidates in this range. Now, whether you had it here or here, it doesn't really matter because this is really only about three to 4 point range. And if my profit target is 1.5 points, then I'm gonna need a really good setup at the low side to give me enough room. So even then, I kind of tend to avoid something like this when there's a really tight range that's kind of almost pretty much the same size or maybe just 2 times the size of my profit target. So just something like that, even if the second entry long sets up like this high, first entry long, second entry long, technically I could maybe squeak out a trade here, but it just feels dicey. So prices continue moving up. It confirms the high side pretty well. So I'm thinking at this point, this yellow up channel is looking pretty nice. Pull down, push back up. It doesn't hit the high side, and it does look like it's consolidating again. It's just moving sideways. It finally gets down to here, and it sets up for my first, well, my one and only trade. So I'm believing that this yellow up channel is holding pretty nicely. It has on the low side, 1 touch, 2 touch, 3 touch, maybe a 4, but definitely 3 touches. And there's another touch confirmation here. The way I had it drawn is it looks like it is in this range and there's a failed breakout and a break of this orange down channel test the low. So I'm thinking this looks like 2 tiny legs have moved down. Down, down bias is potentially played out. I'm seeing a new high first entry long pullback, a very definitive second entry long, bouncing off this yellow up channel support, pushing through, closing above the EMA. I actually like this trade, and there's enough room here for a quick 1 point scalp. Now, technically, I go for 6 points, but I wasn't 100% sure because we are hitting the high of day. And this is actually, I think, all-time highs because the market hasn't been up here before. So it just makes me a little cautious. So I entered 1 tick above here. I'm only going for 1 point scalp, which would get me out here, and not necessarily the full 1.5 because I wasn't too sure because I'm already, as I said, pressing toward the high. And I do get out for 1 point scalp. If I did go for my usual 6 tick scalp, it would have been fine. Even a 2 point scalp would have been fine. But I was just feeling a little conservative. Just decided to get a quick win, just kind of get my mind straight and just ideally reduce any potential FOMO because any kind of small win is better than, well, definitely better than a loss. But especially on something I wasn't too confident in, I decided just to go for a very conservative four ticks. Prices then continue moving up. It chops sideways. So now it's getting back to this yellow up channel support. I'm expecting a break on the other side, but this side-by-side congestion makes me nervous. EMA is helping to come up to act as support, but even if it sets up a second entry long, it feels like these are just kind of indecisive and it could easily flush down for a small little correction. But in this case, it doesn't. So I have even more confidence that this yellow up channel is where prices are kind of obeying. Pushes up. I'm expecting prices to kind of hit the high side, or I'm looking for prices to get to the high side. It doesn't, comes back down to here, it comes back to the EMA. You really only have a first entry long. Pushes through. You technically have a second entry long with an inside bar. It's choppy. You have a second entry short, but it's the wrong signal bar color. Plus, it feels like with this big strong move up, with this yellow up channel that I think is in play, I'm thinking maybe 2 legs down, it could reverse back up to try to test the high. So even though this is a second entry short, if I wanted to go short, I need a lower high, but even a lower high would feel like it's part of the second leg. So if the lower high doesn't make a measured move of this leg, I'd just be very cautious. And it's kind of the market kind of solves that problem for me by not even giving me a lower high until about here. But it's by this time, it's just too far from the setup. So it breaks this orange, this red down channel, pushes two attempts up, and then flushes down even more. And then here just gets a little bit noisy. So it hits a low side, kind of creates this 1 leg down, pushes up, 2 legs up. Not a really good signal bar to go short, pushes back down, gives me a double test here. I don't think I'm in a range necessarily yet. Pushes up to this high side and it comes back down. Looks like it's 2 legs down. There might be a second entry long here with failed breakout, but I want a higher low confirmation, ideally where these two candles would have been, but it doesn't give me that. Pushes up to here. At this point, I established this red line, and I had another line here that I thought it's either this is the support or this is the support. Eventually, I settled on the blue, and I thought there is a possible range now. Potentially, it might create another failed breakout here, but this resistance might be strong enough to push down. As it pushes down, it creates another failed breakout here. Looks like it's one leg pullback, second leg. So at this point, I was looking at the higher tick frame or higher tick chart. Looks like it was one leg, sideways consolidation, and this could be a start of a second leg. So I'm expecting prices to maybe make this measured move. It's already on its way to doing that. So it pushes down, consolidates here. There's a failed breakout here of this possible range. It looks like a new low, first entry short, second entry short, failed breakout. I couldn't call it a second, I mean, technically it is a second entry short, but this, the signal bar is here, this green guy. It doesn't close nicely. I do like the trigger bar gets a rejection off this EMA, but there's too much tail here. So what it's telling me is during the life of this candle, the market was able to push it all the way down, but before it closed, there was this huge buy up that pushes all the way past the halfway point and closes it here. So seeing this in real time, it's just kind of flagging caution to me that although there's a potential second entry short, I need a lower high. But again, I'm asking for a little bit of a reach because this range that I think we might be playing in is only 4 points. So the lower high has to form and close inside this range and still give me enough room for ideally a 6 tick scalp, which means at least 2 points. So it'll have to form in this upper half of this range, which it could happen, but it just doesn't feel safe in this really tight range. So it kind of pushes down. You do kind of, as I said, get this lower high, but it's a doji, then it pushes down and reverses back up. Looks like it's moving up these two legs, but also up this green up channel. As it hits here, I'm watching carefully to see if there's going to be a rejection off this resistance right here. And it does hold. So it's like a first entry long, then it flushes down. Technically, I have a second entry long here, but doesn't really look like two clean legs. It's just one big push down. Break, test the low, versus back up. You have a localized low, first entry short, pull back, second entry short. But seeing this in real time, it doesn't feel like it's a safe short. It looks like prices might be reversing, and it could be moving up this green up channel. Pushes up. So I'm watching this part really carefully again. I'm thinking, okay, I might be in this bigger range where it could be defined by this high and this low. Not necessarily this red line, but maybe even this blue line. Just this area, this region, this thin zone here that could act as resistance. So definitely I don't want to be buying into that zone. And I want to be looking to short from that zone and downwards, but it needs to set up nicely. So it starts pushing down. Technically a first entry long. And then I'm thinking one leg down, pull back, potential second leg. And it does give you this kind of a trap right here because it's a localized high. It's a first entry long pullback, second entry long here. But it also feels like this one leg here could create a second big leg down. That's kind of what it does. It looks like it's reversing here, but then these candles are getting a little bit larger than I'd like. It gives you a higher low here. I actually thought this was a possible trade, but I didn't really recognize it and like it in real time until it got to here. That's when I have a confirmed higher low. So I'm looking at it as two legs down, one leg down, pull back, second leg. Technically, it's a first entry long, second entry long. You could say it's a third entry long, and then there's a higher low here. But I saw it as a visual one leg down, pull back, second leg down, and it looks like it's starting to reverse. But I don't have enough information right now or trust in this range until this candle shows up. By the time this candle shows up, it feels too late because to buy at the close, I'd be buying into this potential high of this range. Then prices continue moving up, pushes up this green up channel, starts moving sideways, and then it looks like it's starting to flush down. Again, it's starting to move sideways in this kind of noisy area with the last 30 minutes of the day and the last 10 minutes of the day that I don't want to try to take any trades here. So a little bit, I guess, smoother price action didn't necessarily translate to that many setups that I could identify, but I was just glad I was able to take one trade and get it profitable. So hopefully that was helpful.